Hey yogis, I'm Laura. Welcome to our practice for Pratyahara. We're on the fifth limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. And during your practice today, since we're working on this concept of sense withdrawal, of pulling our energy away from the external environment, I've tried to design this practice with different places where you're welcome to close your eyes without feeling like you're going to lose your balance. But the overall structure of the practice is going to start out with movements that feel very open, and we're interacting with the external environment. We're using our senses, especially because we're outside. And then little by little drawing in and going toward more forward bending and more closed and internally focused postures. So that's the plan for the practice today. I hope you enjoy. We're going to start out by taking our block and placing it into the top of the mat. So we're starting in a very open position. We're using the block to create support underneath the upper back or the thoracic spine. And then letting the head drop down and the shoulders open up. Letting the knees open. So we start with this very open and settled position. If your legs are uncomfortable in this position or your lower back is uncomfortable, feel free to adjust and find your own version. Enjoying the freedom that you find in your breath. When the front of the body is very open, the inhale is free to fill up all that space. We're pulling in energy. Pratyahara is very much about being able to control where that energy goes, whether we're directing it out or we're drawing it in toward our center. Taking your last couple of breaths here, and you can start to draw the arms up overhead, and then bringing the palms together at your heart. Stretching the arms overhead, and then using the arms to bring the knees together, holding onto the back of the head, sitting yourself up. We'll come back up into a seated position. And then using our block as a prop underneath the hips so that we can come into our warm-up. Finding a tall seat. Inhale, open the arms out to the sides. Draw the palms into the heart. Inhale, expand the arms open. Exhale, contract into your heart center. We'll start with this as our Hasta Vinyasa, pairing our breath and the movement of the hands. And then taking the hands to the heart, starting to rub them together vigorously, building up some heat between the palms of the hands. We'll cup the hands over the eyes, feeling that warmth and letting that relax any tension around the eyes. Releasing the hands, coming back to the heart center. And I'm going to take my thumbs and use that just to close off the opening at the front of the ear, that little flap that closes the ear hole. The rest of the fingers rest on the scalp. And then we're coming into a breath pattern very much like Brahmari. So we're inhaling slowly and smoothly. And then as you exhale, creating a humming sound in the throat. So it would sound like this. Then letting the hands drop down. Noticing what it's like to come back into hearing the external sounds, of hearing the birds, hearing the wind. And then we're going to go into the full version of the Brahmari breath. We're taking the thumbs to close the flaps of the ears, and then the fingers just lightly cascade around the face. You can rest on the eyelids without putting any pressure onto the eye, along the sides of the nose, and just underneath the nose on the upper lip. Creating the same pattern with your breath. Inhale smoothly, exhale, create a strong humming sound through the throat. Release the hands from the mudra. Let them drop down. And again, become aware of what it's like to hear the external sounds, to see what's around you. Become very aware of that sensory information that you're taking in. And then we'll start to rearrange the legs. We're moving over, taking your block out of the way, and flipping the hands, coming into table. In your table, starting a big shoulder circle. So we want to start to create some freedom in the upper back, and then we're going to open that up into a rotation. Inhale the left arm open, exhale the palm down. Inhale the right arm open, exhale the palm down. It's flowing from side to side. Taking in what there is to see on each side. Noticing what you can hear. Coming back into table and creating that circular movement with the shoulder blades. Just gliding the shoulder blades on the back of the rib cage. And then we're going to swing around. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see this better. But from your kneeling position, you're going to send the right foot out toward the side into a gate prep. Arms come up, and then slide yourself over into gate pose. Come back up to center. We'll drop the left hand down, reach the right arm up toward the sky. Continue to move the arm up over the head to create one long line. Inhale up to center. Exhale into gate. Inhaling center. Exhale, drop the left hand down to the mat. And then if it feels okay on the shoulder, go all the way up toward the ear. Well, find a comfortable pace as you flow back and forth. Making your way back into center, taking a moment to close the eyes, and then we'll come down into a more internally focused pose by walking over and clasping the right foot or the leg, whatever you can reach easily. And here I welcome you to close your eyes, start to cultivate more of an internal awareness. Coming back towards center, finding your table, and sending the left leg out toward the side to come into a prep position for gate. We'll swing over into our gate pose, and then starting the flow on this side, going through center, dropping the right hand to the ground, stretching the left arm up overhead, and then back to center. Find your pace as quickly or as slowly as you feel like you need today. As you come back into center, bring the hands down to the heart. Pause for a moment, closing the eyes. This is where we're changing to a more internal focus. Dropping the hands down to the mat, and we'll walk over toward the left foot. Finding a nice forward bend there, where you can hold on to the leg or the foot, closing your eyes and slowing your breath down. Walking back through center, drawing your leg in. And we'll come back into table pose. Circling your shoulders, making sure that the upper body is staying loose and open. Sitting back onto the heels, coming into child's pose. So child's pose is our perfect pose when we're talking about drawing the senses in, taking our awareness and our energy in. Lifting up onto the knees, and we'll come into a more open pose, kneeling mountain. Opening the hands wide, then drawing them down through the center line to the heart, and back down to the ground into child's pose. Inhale, expanding up, lifting the arms, finding openness. Exhale, dropping down through center. And we'll find a flow that creates a good pace for you. Rising on the inhale, dropping on the exhale. And we'll come up this time, opening the arms really wide out to the sides into a T. Finding a lift in the heart, and then letting yourself come down. Now getting steady with your balance to step your right foot forward. Trying not to use the hands if you can. Once you find your low lunge, open the arms out toward the sides with the palms up toward the sky. Very open lunge. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart. And then we'll drop the palms down on either side of the front foot and sway back into a half split. Inhale forward. Exhale the hips back. Swaying through that movement with your breath. The next time that you draw the hips back, we're going to sit all the way down onto the back foot. Coming into a forward bend, you can clasp anywhere on your leg, or you can let your hands rest alongside your leg, or you can hold onto your foot. Closing the eyes, turning in here. Inhaling yourself up into sitting. Shift your weight forward into your lunge. Rising up and floating the arms up. You can use the arms for balance, or just taking the right foot, bringing it back into a kneeling position. So again, that balance challenge, trying to stabilize. Lower down into child's pose. Drawing your attention in, pulling the energy toward your center. Inhale, rising onto the knees, finding that position of openness as the arms come overhead. Drawing down the center, past the third eye, into the heart. And then we'll stabilize on the knees to very carefully step the left foot forward. The slower you go with that transition, the more challenging you'll feel it will be with your balance. The arms find a very open, wide position out toward the sides. Enjoying that freedom in your inhale. Very open pose. The eyes can be open. Admiring whatever is around you. Drawing the hands towards center. And then we'll start to flow forward and back. You're going to shift your weight forward into your lunge. And then back into a half split. Finding your perfect pace, whatever that might be at this point during your practice. The next time that you shift your hips back, we're going to come all the way back and sit on the right foot. Just nestling the foot underneath the pelvis. Coming down into a forward bend over the left leg. Here we close the eyes and we practice that process of drawing our awareness away from our senses. Using an inhale to lift yourself up, shift the hips forward, come into your knee down lunge. We'll start to bring the weight back onto our right knee. Carefully stepping the left foot back into your kneeling position, challenging your balance on the way. Inhale, the arms rise overhead. Palms join together, lower down through the center, and make your contact with the earth. Inhale, bringing the arms out in front. We'll come through table. Tuck the toes underneath, lifting the hips up into downward facing dog. Pedaling from side to side a few times to find your position of comfort. Sweeping the right leg up behind you, bending that knee and scooping it underneath the body. Carefully place your right foot up at the top of your mat. And just like we did in the last version, we're going to start up in a lunge, opening the arms wide. Open pose, the arms are open, the heart is open, and your eyes are open to make contact with the things that are around you. Drawing into the heart, letting the hands come back down to the mat, then shifting the hips back into almost a pyramid pose. This is a nice one to use blocks if you feel like having the hands on the floor is a little too low. Rolling the hips forward, rolling them back. Shifting your hips forward into your lunge and then stepping the right leg back into down dog. Take your left leg up into a three-legged dog, bend the knee, scoop it underneath the body. Step your left foot up. Finding comfort in your lunge. And we'll start with a standing version. Inhaling, coming up, finding stability, opening the arms. And then enjoy your full inhale, that feeling of openness and connection to everything around you. Soaking in the colors, the shapes, the textures, soaking in everything that you can hear. Your exhale brings the hands into the heart. Closing the eyes for a moment, and letting the hands come down. Here we find our slow flow, shifting the hips forward and back. It's a great space to close your eyes and just experience the pose and the movement internally. Shifting forward into your lunge, bringing the left foot back into downward facing dog. We'll drop the knees down, coming into kneeling mountain pose with the arms up overhead. Slide down the center line to the third eye, to the heart, and down into child's pose. Drawing your senses in, drawing your energy in. As you inhale, open the right arm up toward the side, drop the palm down, and then left arm, open it out to the side into a twist, let it drop down. Coming back up into a seated position, palms come together into Yoga Mudra and lift the chest, draw the shoulders back. Rolling down with the forehead toward the earth and the knuckles reaching up toward the sky. drop the hands down by the sides, releasing the fingers. Pressing yourself back up into a seated position. And then we'll rotate around with the legs out toward the front of the mat. So here I'm untucking some of the flesh away from the pelvis, and then placing that block onto my shins. And you can clasp anywhere on the leg or on the foot that you feel comfortable with, or you can even use a strap around the feet. And then I've turned the block so that my forehead has something to rest on. That just creates a more nurturing and inwardly focused version of a forward bend. Letting go of any sense of having to make the pose look a certain way, especially having it look like anybody else's pose. And instead focus more on, what does this pose feel like inside? How does it change your breath? Where does it give your body sensation? As you inhale, come up into sitting. Release your block over to the side. Bending the knees and taking the soles of the feet together. So we're starting out in a version of tortoise pose. Taking the hands and the arms underneath the legs. I'm using that same block to create a support for my forehead. Going in deeper and deeper. This is the place where it's like a turtle pulling its arms and legs inside the shell. Feeling very safe and secure inside. Inhale, lifting yourself up off the block, releasing your arms out from underneath your legs, helping your knees to come together. We'll scoot forward slightly and taking your eye pillow if you have one, or you can use a folded towel, bringing that down with you just so that it's handy. And then we'll stretch the left leg out and bring the right knee into the chest. Repeating that on the other side, left knee into the chest. And then letting your knees create a windshield wiper movement from side to side. Just gentle rotation in the hips. Start to walk the feet out wide. Let the knees drop toward each other. We're internally rotating the hips. And reaching the arms up toward the sky, and letting them drop across the body so that the points of the elbows face up toward the sky. This is sometimes called constructive rest pose. It's a way of physically turning the arms and legs in toward the body. Uncross the arms, open them up, and then we'll recross them the opposite way. Bring the other arm on top. Uncrossing the arms, bringing them down to the sides, walking the feet back into the center line. And we'll start to position the body comfortably against the floor, stretching the legs out, rubbing the palms of the hands together vigorously, creating some warmth. Cupping the hands over the eyes, feeling that warmth help to soften any tension around the eyes and the face. If you have your eye pillow, you can gently place that over the eyes or a towel. If not, just gently closing the eyes. Bringing yourself into a place of rest. Resting your awareness internally, letting go of any outside input so that you can stay in Savasana as long as you like.